How's that for a slice of fried gold?
You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.
I'll be back.
To the flesh wound. I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains.
Take your sticking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
Greetings and welcome to Cinema Shock, the podcast celebrating the stories behind your favorite cult and genre films. But this is not one of those episodes. This is the bonus episode where we take a few minutes to catch up with each other and let you, the listeners, take a peek behind our podcast curtain. I'm one of your hosts, writer-comedian Mr. Todd A. Davis.
I'm co-host Justin Bishop.
I am yet another host. His name is Gary Horn.
Hey guys, good to see you.
Good morning.
We saw you at Casa Davis last night for our little Thanksgiving thing. How'd you guys fare out? Did you guys have a good time?
Not really.
No, it was terrible.
No. Okay, moving right along.
It's a dump. Don't go there. If you're ever in South Carolina,
Don't go to Todd's house. No, it's good stuff.
Yeah, we had a good time seeing each other, and it's more rare that we're all in the same room together, but last night was a lot of fun. It was good seeing you guys.
yeah. We used to do orgies like every year.
I know.
Nobody has time anymore.
Yeah. Who has time for orgies?
We call it networking now.
Oh yeah. Well, this episode we're going to be taking a look at the ripple effect caused by the wonderful film Darkman, resulting in 2 direct-to-video sequels. What did you guys think of these?
Well, we're just gonna dive right in.
Yeah.
What do we think? Well, they're definitely direct-to-video sequels to Darkman. I'll tell you that.
That is true. It's interesting. After last episode, somebody, I think Todd, it was you that started the conversation that this could be a TV show. These definitely feel like they're episodes of a TV show.
They really kind of do, yeah.
Yeah. I think because and I made the comparison to Doctor Who during our regular episode covering Darkman, but the more I think about it, the more I'm convinced of it. It was like, yeah, this would have been such a great evergreen type of show, because with the narrative device of he can change his face to look like anybody, you can bring in anybody. Yeah. But what did you guys think of Darkman 2, The Return of Durant?
I was going to throw in that along with that is you have your Darkman's real face that you got to show off every so often.
Right.
And it feels like it would play right alongside Highlander from around that time or something, because it's like you just get your main guy, you get Vosloo or what? I think I saw that's how his name's pronounced. And then every once in a while he gets to put on a rubber Darkman mask, because that's what this is. For anybody who hasn't seen it, is definitely lower budget, and so whereas the original
mask
Darkman
doesn't look terrible though. It doesn't,
except when he talks.
Except when he talks, then his mouth barely moves,
because they gave Liam Neeson at least like I think they said like 18 different pieces or something that went on,
so that his face could move a little bit better. Yeah.
This is very definitely like one rubber mask. That just
the teeth look really silly when he's trying to talk, because they really do barely move. They're clearly on top of his regular lips.
As if it shouldn't be hard enough for Darkman to talk anyway, because he has no lips. But
in Darkman 2, at one point when he's in his new lair that he's claimed, he kisses his kitty cat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, what are you kissing that kitty cat with? You're just like not gnawing on it. What are you doing? You have no lips, sir. You can't do that.
He's kind of for anybody who hasn't seen it, I guess he's kind of gone full Batman now. Now he's got like a lair. Now he's got a lair.
He's got his underground transportation system, like
Yeah.
a computer that talks to him.
He's got his little choo-choo train that he rides into the city on. He can only go to crimes that are near the train tracks, though. Otherwise, he has to get out and run.
Yeah.
I do think it's possible that Arnold Vosloo, people saw him as Darkman and were like, "Ah, yes, a mummy." And like,
maybe. Yeah, I guess for anyone who who hasn't seen these, obviously Liam Neeson does not return for these sequels, and I didn't do a lot of research on this. We usually don't for these bonus episodes, but I didn't see anything about why Liam Neeson didn't return, although I can probably guess because he was in Schindler's List in 1993, which is a year before Darkman 2, and I can't imagine that doing a direct-to-video sequel to a movie that had been kind of an early starring role for him was high on his priority list. They also probably couldn't afford him at this point after Schindler's List.
It's very powerful.
So what they could afford was, dollar store Liam Neeson, which is Arnold Vosloo. Who Gary alluded to, most of you probably know as Imhotep from the Brendan Fraser Mummy movies. Although he was also a bad guy in the Sam Raimi produced Hard Target.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's I mean, I like him as an actor. He's South African, but there's something about his look that is very, I guess, it's hard to pin down what his nationality is. So he ends up playing a lot of different races, honestly, because he played I remember he was on 24. He was like the villain one season, and he was playing like a Islamic terrorist, even though he's not like Middle Eastern or anything at all. He's of like Dutch and German descent. I think he just happens to have that look, which is why he could play an Egyptian in the Mummy movies. And in his first movie,
there was a time you didn't need black people to play black roles. So it was
yeah. I mean, we've thankfully moved past that in filmmaking for the most part. But his first movie was, his first American movie. He obviously started his career in South Africa. He was in plays and some TV and movies there. But his first American production was Ridley Scott's 1492 Conquest of Paradise. His Christopher Columbus, incredibly inaccurate Christopher Columbus movie. And Vosloo played, I think, a Spanish guy in that one. So he's all over the place.
He, they couldn't afford poor Liam Neeson, but they did get Larry Drake back as Durant. He returns, so good for him.
Yeah,
despite having been blown up.
Yeah,
despite a train slamming his helicopter into a massive explosion, like into the train tunnel, a la Mission Impossible.
And they really kind of breeze over his return in this, like how he actually came back is like, it's very vague. And it's like, yep, now he's just back, just deal with it.
Yeah.
And he's gonna have some lingering effects from his injury, but it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, he'll have nary a scratch on him.
Not one.
But and I'm sure that's how he returned, because like they were like, you'll be the main focus of this movie. And it's
this is his movie. Yeah, 100%.
It's called like The Return of Durant, and it is all about him. Like, I mean, Darkman is like a side character in this movie.
He really is, because like Darkman, even when the character of Darkman is on screen, I would say like 75% of the time he's wearing someone else's face. So it's not Arnold Vosloo even playing Darkman most of the time.
Right.
It's him in disguise as other characters, like the whole movie. So it barely feels like a Darkman movie because of that. It's pretty fun though, honestly. Like I went into this. I'd never seen either of the sequels that I remember, but I went into it fearing the worst. And it's not a good movie by any means. It's not by normal standards, but it's pretty damn fun for a direct-to-video, like mid-90s action horror sequel. There's some fun effects and things. I mean, they're cheesy effects, but more ambitious than I expected from this. I mean, Sam Raimi produced this as well, so I'm sure he had a little bit of say in it. Renaissance Pictures, Sam Raimi's production company, they were responsible for this. Him and Rob Tapert were behind the scenes on it, even if I'm not sure how much how much they contributed creatively to it, other than making a few bucks off of it.
Yeah, and I can't remember who it was written by who. It was I just had it up and I can't remember who wrote the damn thing. But
the screenwriters on it?
Yeah, Herzog and Stephen McKay wrote the teleplay.
Werner Herzog wrote
this. No, it's his lesser known brother Lawrence Herzog.
Larry Herzog wrote this movie.
Robert Eisel, who wrote The Great Debaters with Denzel Washington and Forrest Whitaker, and was a writer on Cagney and Lacey and The Equalizer. Him, and then you had Lawrence Herzog, who was a writer, another TV writer.
He did Nowhere Man.
Yeah, he did 24. It looks like. And then Stephen McKay did the teleplay. Now he was a writer on Hard to Kill, so those are the credentials you need.
Yeah, that makes sense for a direct-to-video movie. So the guy who directed these movies, he directed both of them. Same guy directed both of these movies. His name's Bradford May, and I looked into him a little bit because I was curious. You can't find a ton about him because he's not like incredibly well known. But I did find out a couple things digging into him a bit. He started his career as a cinematographer, working primarily in television through the 80s. He worked on shows like Simon and Simon and Dallas. But if you look at his like IMDb, even when he did feature-length films, not episodes of TV shows, they're almost entirely TV movies. With as a cinematographer, with one major exception, and that was actually The Monster Squad. He was the cinematographer on in 1987, which I thought was pretty interesting. And it's weird to me that didn't segue him into doing more feature films, because it's a pretty good looking movie from a visual standpoint. But even after that, it's just a bunch of other TV movies that he's the cinematographer on. He was his own cinematographer for these movies, for Darkman 2 and 3. He was the director and the cinematographer. Oh, wow. And then if you look at his directing career, it's pretty much the same. It's almost entirely TV episodes of TV series, some of which he, like I mentioned Dallas earlier, he did, 30 episodes or something of that. He did that as a director as well, where he would, sometimes he would do like one episode. He did an episode of Supernatural, Gary, season 2.
Yeah.
He did an episode of Supernatural. But it's a lot of like him directing a bunch of episodes of one show. So, kind of a journeyman director is what he seems. It's just that he mostly works in television, and even his feature-length movies are all television, with the exception of a couple of direct-to-video movies like the Darkman movies. But even those are few and far between. They're still mostly TV movies, and a lot of them seem to be of the Lifetime Hallmark Channel variety.
Yeah, I'm getting that vibe as I'm looking over his
so
IMDb.
I was like, I was scrolling his IMDb, and I'm like, I have literally never heard of any of these movies that he made after Darkman, except for maybe like the Amy Fisher story, just because I remember that being a big deal. So I just clicked on one randomly. I just picked one randomly, and it was called Operation Cupcake.
Perfect.
It aired on the Hallmark Channel in 2012. And
of course it did.
The synopsis is: on leave from the U.S. Army, a man, Dean Cain, helps his wife, Christy Swanson, run a bakery. And if that's not the most Hallmark Channel shit you've ever heard.
And one day, Sam Raimi was scrolling and saw that and said, Darkman.
Well, this was after.
This was way
after. This is 2012. But
after didn't work for the joke. Let's see. So I did read somewhere that Sam Raimi, I guess, had turned Darkman into Bruce Campbell at the end of that movie, because if they made sequels, he was hoping for Bruce Campbell. But
why was Bruce Campbell not cast in these? I wonder.
I don't know. Other than that, Bruce Campbell was super busy during this time. This was around the time of Briscoe County Jr. And, he was on like I looked at his IMDb. I was like, maybe it's because of other roles, and he was back to back on projects. Like
this was like right after. 92 is Army of Darkness, which was which probably got him a lot of other offers. I would guess.
Yeah.
Man, I love Briscoe County Jr. What a great show.
It's a fun show.
It's fun.
That computer who talks to it, by the way, I looked it up. I was watching him like make that face on that shitty laptop that he had. And I was like, what is that? It's a Toshiba 480000C, which I guarantee doesn't make liquid skin. But I looked up the specs on it. It weighed like about 7 pounds, and it came with a whopping 6 megabytes of RAM.
Whoa! Wow,
that's enough. Megs.
That's obviously
we are
enough.
In the future.
I think you could upgrade it to 16.
Woo!
And it ran MS DOS.
Of course it did.
Yeah.
Also, it made 3D imaging of liquid skin, and like you could. I mean, I guess people had to work with that back in the day, but it's just interesting. He might as well have worked on an iPhone, because that's way more computing power there. Although you hear that your iPhone has more computing power than what it took people to the moon initially. So
I
don't know. I'll tell you another thing. Darkman, you ever think about that he only has he has to create skin for himself, but like he also is creating hair, and his bone structure would change too, which is
his teeth.
His teeth.
Because his teeth
height.
His height.
Because his teeth are kind of fucked up. And,
but
which
not
happens,
with the mask,
which happens when you get exploded. But yes, not once he puts a mask on. It really doesn't make much sense. And his voice, I mean, they show him practicing the voice, but it's like you're practicing inflection, not like changing your voice. He needs like some kind of voice modulator,
Yeah, he's not freaking
to make this much more believable.
That does the Bush impersonation.
What?
Frank
It's
Caliendo?
not like he's Frank not
Caliendo.
What? Who was it?
Frank Caliendo.
Yeah, he's not freaking Frank Caliendo over here. He's like, I didn't want to bash this movie completely though, because I will say that if you're a fan of these mid-90s action movies, like Justin said, they're kind of fun, and I will give them this. There's some good like violence in it and some cool lines. So there is that fun stuff in part 2. There's a point where like Durant like knocks that dude right in the face with the golf club, and parts of his teeth come out, and that was pretty. That got me for some reason. I was like, I guess it's that violence you can relate to, and you're like see his teeth like partially beat out, and then there's like the doctor, like, so the whole thing is Durant's going after this doctor who's like I guess he's Hannibal Lecter, like he's literally in the same cell. And
talking about the weapons guy that he breaks out.
Sorry, the professor or whatever he is, Dr. Hathaway.
Well, he's in an insane asylum, I think.
Yeah, but like it's in that glass cage, and it like literally looks just like Silence of the Lambs. But and he has great lines like where they bring him the food, and he's just like, "What are we having this evening?" I wrote this down: lobster Florentine, beef Wellington, perhaps grilled ahi on a bed of Belgian is it endive?
Endive. It's endive.
Like I've ever had that. The orderly says, "No, it's your old favorite, Doc," and he says,
"Yeah, I hate meatloaf."
He like screams it. I love that part.
Yeah.
There's another line in there that I wrote down that I liked. It said, "You wouldn't know a plan if it was pounded up your ass with a jackhammer."
Yeah, for those who have not seen this, the movie is basically about like I said, they kind of breeze over Durant coming back. I mean, they kind of explain it, but not really. No. but once they get that out of the way, they move into the plot, and it's basically Durant's breaking this. He's breaking this old like weapons developer out of an insane asylum, a mental institution, to help him create this like laser weapon, like the ultimate weapon, because he wants to get into arms dealership.
It's the beginning of Iron Man 2.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So he wants to get back into arms dealing, but he's like, I'm just going to make my own weapon. So that, and then on the other side, Darkman teams up with this guy, this other doctor guy, to help make better synthetic skin that'll work during the day. And then, of course, Darkman finds out that Durant is out, and they have to fight. That's basically it.
Yeah,
that's basically the movie.
But they said, like, all right, we got to top the finale last time, so we had a train pulling a helicopter into a tunnel. It explodes, huge explosion. How do we beat that? They're like, well, we don't have the budget for that, so we do have a limo that we rented. Maybe we could use that. How about he remote controls it and just drives Durant back and forth for a few minutes and then blows him up.
Yeah.
And that's how they do it.
Works for me. So that's Darkman 2, though.
Yeah, that's Darkman 2. Darkman 3, Darkman Die, to me really does feel like the pilot episode for what should have been a series. You got Jeff Fahey, who brings that TV energy.
I mean, that sounds insulting. I mean, Jeff Fahey is great.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I literally made the note to myself. This is now, it really feels like a TV show. But I will say that Darkman 3 is my favorite of the sequels.
Yeah,
because
despite the fact
your favorite
that,
out of 2.
Yeah. Well, I just mean like the other one felt like it was trying to walk the line of like capturing the first one and and just not leaning into it. Darkman 3 like feels like it goes like full B movie, just having fun, and it's just ridiculous.
I mean, it's missing the presence of Larry Drake, who's great because he does, I guess he is finally dead after Darkman 2, so they have to bring in a new villain. In this case, it is Jeff Fahey, and Jeff Fahey is, I just love that guy anyway. I always love when he pops up in anything. I mean, he was, I guess most people probably know him best from where he played Captain Lapidus on Lost. But I mean, I guess people our age probably first met him in The Lawnmower Man.
I always remember, he's definitely in The Lawnmower Man.
Well, he is the Lawnmower Man.
Well, that is true. I always remember him. I always felt like I saw him on like those direct to video, like when I worked at a video store, and he was looking at like the ones that are sort of like Two Moon Junction or something. Like he would be like sleeping with some hot actress or something, and that was the real appeal, is like porn that's not porn. But I could be completely wrong about that. But I will say this, Jeff Fahey, I did look up a little bit about him because I was interested in him, because he's just got striking eyes, and and I was
he's one of those just like very charismatic dudes too, where there's something about the way he speaks and like his mannerisms are very, I don't know, they're very charismatic. I mean, he's just one of those guys where you're like, he's so good, like effortlessly good, that you wonder why he's not a bigger star than he is. I mean, he's worked steadily his whole career, but he's never been like a star really, and I feel like he kind of should be.
At 17 years old, Jeff Fahey left home having heard, quote, the call of the open road. He spent time trekking through the Himalayas, went to Afghanistan. He traveled the world. He hitchhiked to Alaska, backpacked Europe, went on an Israeli kibbutz, taking any odd job that he could in between all these things. He still to this day, by the way, has an orphanage he funds in Kabul, Afghanistan.
Wow.
He was invited to try ballet along the way there and fell in love with it. And he was 25 at the time, which is usually an advanced age for ballet to start. But he won a full scholarship to study at the Joffrey Ballet School in New York City.
Wow.
And he was there
at the age of 25.
Yeah. And he was there for years and ended up starting to teach ballroom dancing.
That's crazy.
And then ended up practicing theater and got cast on Broadway. Got on Broadway. And then he landed a television role from his Broadway thing on the soap opera One Life to Live. And then in 1985, got his first major film role as Tyree in Silverado.
Silverado's a fun movie, Lawrence Kasdan.
And then I think right after that, he got the job of playing alongside Anthony Perkins in Psycho 3.
Mm-hmm.
And he plays, if you've watched all the Psychos, he actually has like a cool little role. He's like a
he like works for Norman Bates, right?
Yeah, he like stays in the hotel and he like plays guitar, finds out Norman Bates is a killer, and then like tries to blackmail him and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it was off to the races for Jeff Fahey from there. That guy has led quite the life, Mr. Fahey. I remembered the blonde lady, Darlene Flugel, I think is her name. She was on that show Hunter. I don't know. My grandparents loved that show back in the day.
Hunter.
There was the first girl. Her name was like Dee Dee, who had like had the brown hair that was like Hunter's like partner. But then later she left, and then this girl was the one that took over for her. And don't forget Roxanne Dawson.
I was about to say.
Okay, Todd, I'll let you take
we got
that one.
Roxanne Dawson, aka B'Elanna Torres from Star Trek Voyager. She plays Angela Rooker. It's she's just a baby in this. But yeah, she's actually become a really great director.
Wasn't this around the time that Star Trek Voyager was beginning though? Star Trek started in the mid-90s.
Yeah, this was
95, 96.
Yeah, this was just before that. Voyager was a little bit later, but yeah, that's where she got into the franchise, and then later started her directing career on Star Trek Enterprise. But yeah, her episodes specifically are really cool because a lot of them watch like horror movies.
Interesting.
This also was written by two guys, Michael Kaleri and Mike Werb, who wrote Face Off.
Yeah, and Tomb Raider.
Oh, nice.
Which is super weird. So they some real credentials there. And
I wonder if there is a Raimi connection there, or if that's just coincidental, because we talked a little bit on our Darkman episode. Raimi produced Hard Target, starring Arnold Vosloo. And then of course that was John Woo's directorial or American film debut, and then Face Off came just a few years later. So I wonder if that's coincidental, or if somehow Raimi liked these guys and kind of introduced them to John Woo or something like that. Because what year was Face Off? Face Off was
97, 98.
It was 97, so it would have been a year after this. So so that's possible. I'm just completely speculating, obviously, but I am curious if there's some kind of connection there.
It's interesting, and again, this movie goes back to the villain seems to be the most important part. The lead villain, Jeff A, even gets like lead billing above the title.
Yeah,
in the movie, like it's like Jeff Fahey in. And then it started.
And that might just be because he was more well known at the time, even if in kind of a B movie fashion. Because I guess Lawnmower Man was probably pretty successful.
It would have had to have been Lawnmower Man. I think he does play in Wyatt Earp. I think he's the Kevin Costner Wyatt Earp. Around that time.
That was around the same time, 95.
Yeah. So there's that stuff. I don't know,
but I'm with you, Gary. I definitely liked between the two. I think they're both fun for the type of movie that they are. But part 3, if I had to choose which one I liked better, it would be part 3. I just think it's got a better script, honestly. And I think that as much as I love Larry Drake, he doesn't even hold a candle to Jeff Fahey.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great villain.
It's just got all the weird stuff. Like Fahey also loves playing classical piano. He's just like a weird villain.
He's an eccentric villain. He's fun.
Yeah, and there's weird freaking lines like that drug deal at the beginning where the guy's like, "Oh, it's cut," and he's like, "Taste it." And he's like, "Oh, how long have we been working together?" And then the one drug dealer who's like not scared at all that he's about to die is just like, "Do you like the taste of that? I pissed in it." Yeah. And then the one guy chases Darkman who steals all the money. But like Darkman's now he's like cutting the one-liners, like the dude he's made up as like turns the corner and sees him and he's like, "How's it going, beautiful?" And like smashes him in the face with a crowbar. Then they all chase him down into the sewer and he's like going down the sewer tunnel, like going down.
That's good.
There's just weird lines, and like the one guy's like climbing out of that sewer later and gets his head cut off by like it's like a snow plow. It's not, I don't remember that it was snowing, but there is and, just weird shit like that. I will say too, Vosloo, the one thing that drove me nuts is like they try to do the stunts with Darkman, and you can tell it's probably like another stunt. It's a stunt man, but they try to overdub his voice into it, and he is not good at faking screaming, because like Darkman will be like an explosion behind him and he's like, "Ah," It's just how he sounds, like every scream, and he does it so many times.
It is pretty funny.
But there's one scene where they shoot a bazooka at him, and somehow it's like a rocket launcher, and the rocket like goes like by his head and through the thing he's on in the tunnels. Remember that?
Yeah,
it's like he just somehow just barely misses him.
It just misses him, but which is impressive considering the thing that he is on cannot move side to side to get out of the way because it is on track.
No, this guy was just
the guy was just a bad shot.
He was either a bad shot or the best shot, because it goes like not like off to the side, it goes right by his head. And like he's got the framework of the thing he's in, and it goes through the back window, out the front window.
I mean, he should have just aimed for the bottom of that thing.
But you would think, why don't you aim for the huge part of it? No, he just like freaking needle and threads that thing like right past Darkman's head. I don't know. It's real weird.
What did you guys think about the overabundance of reuse of previous footage?
It's kind of funny, honestly, because they show the Darkman origin scenes in both of these movies, but they refilm any shots that clearly showed Liam Neeson's face with Arnold Vosloo, which I think is really interesting. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's the best way to do it. It would have been really weird if they just shown Liam Neeson and then cut to this guy. But I was like, oh, they're doing a previously on Darkman kind of thing here. But then there are these shots in there that's the new actor. But they're pretty seamless, honestly. It's kind of well done.
Yeah. Well, they even slip in the Darlene Flugel, the blonde, like she's like playing the scientist that actually works for Jeff Fahey's character. But at the beginning, she is working on Darkman. So they like, they're showing the operation after his explosion or whatever. And then they like put her like the upward shot of the doctors around her. And she's like, I'm with you, buddy. And like working on it. So like, later that she could say, I was there during your surgery. We saved you.
Yeah, it
saved me. I don't know if I should thank you or kill you.
Yeah, I was wondering about with all the use of old footage, because it's funny because Darkman 2 reuses stuff from the original, and Darkman 3 uses stuff from 2 and the original. It's just like, wow. Hey, you guys shoot this over a weekend?
Yeah, well, it's you gotta keep your budget in mind, and
might as well.
It makes sense narratively, especially because this was 5 years after Darkman. So it's safe to say people renting this at Blockbuster in 1995 might have needed a refresher.
I think it's worth saying too, I don't know if we mentioned this, but I think I read they filmed these like together.
And did they?
And that 3 was originally going to be part 2. And then for whatever reason, they got switched around, which was odd.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could do that. They probably just, I would guess they just wanted Larry Draco, the one actor from the original movie, to return to these. They wanted his face on the cover of the second one as a selling point. That's all I can guess. Although it would have been cool, honestly, if Jeff Fahey had been the villain in part 2, and then part 3, Durant. Oh, like we got rid of this other threat. Now our biggest threat, Durant, is back. That could have worked. So, but honestly, there's nothing that happens in part 2 that really affects the plot in part 3 at all. It's just Darkman. It's just another adventure of Darkman. This is just another episode of Batman, the animated series where he's fighting a different villain.
Yep, pretty much.
Which I'm fine with. I mean, I would watch more of them. Like we've said, I would absolutely watch a Darkman TV show. I think it would be cool. But I almost wish it was like, I feel like if they do it now, they would take it too seriously. I almost want it to be like part of that late 90s Sam Raimi wave of TV shows like Xena and Hercules and Briscoe County Jr. and stuff like that. Like I almost wanted to be part of that era of TV, like a Darkman series that I watched on UPN on Sunday afternoon or something.
Oh, very much. Yeah. Did either of you guys happen to catch the Darkman short from 2012?
No, is this like a fan thing?
Yeah,
it's the one they made. Oh, it's fan made.
Yeah,
weird. I knew they made the one thing that like Durant, talked about. We talked about it in the first or the last.
Yeah, that
episode.
was way earlier than 2012, though.
Yeah, so there's a fan made Darkman.
Is it good?
The short, it's not bad. I mean, it's clear they're missing the camp factor, because it's 2012.
They're trying to do the Christopher Nolan bullshit, probably.
Right. Yeah,
that would be my guess. Let's make
he's
this
dark, man. We got to make it dark.
Yeah, we got to make it dark, man.
Darkman Begins.
Yeah. Well,
that's what somebody would do now. If Warner Brothers or somebody, well, I guess it'd be Universal, decided they were going to do a new Darkman, I guarantee that's the kind of shit they would pull off. Because we talked about how Liam Neeson's game to do another one, but I would really hope, and Raimi's talking to Universal about it, but I would hope that Raimi would at least be somewhat involved creatively too, because otherwise it would be in danger of taking itself too seriously. And I think part of the fun of Darkman, the first one and the sequels, is that it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's a ridiculous concept, and it should remain ridiculous.
Oh yeah. I think, I keep thinking back to the Universal Classic Monsters, and they had, once they kind of established their, that stable of characters, they started having them cross over. We kind of got an early version of what the Marvel Cinematic Universe would turn out to be, with like, so-and-so meets so-and-so, Dracula meets Frankenstein, and Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. And, you started getting those really fun crossovers with Darkman. I don't see why you can't do that. I mean, people dig the crossover thing, and Universal's got a great stable of characters. It might be fun.
So
you could do Darkman and Ash.
Yeah.
I was going to say Darkman versus Tom Cruise's Mummy.
Oh God,
that'd be fun.
No,
be okay. So Dr. Peyton Westlake has been brought in to study the skin remains of this mummy that's found in some new dig or something like that, and then shenanigans ensue.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. Just don't get the Tom Cruise version of the mummy involved. That was a
well,
mess.
You don't like Sophia Boutella?
Oh, I love Sophia Boutella. I just don't love the movie she was in.
Well, I mean, Universal did like Shrek or something, didn't they? I don't know.
That was DreamWorks.
Oh, well, never mind.
Gary, we could only hope that there would be a Shrek Darkman crossover.
All right, I'm making notes now, fellas. We'll see what I can crank out.
I know there needs to be a fan created universe of Darkman Shrek adventures.
Oh, I thought I was ugly. Oh
my God. Can you imagine? I like the idea of the like CG animated Darkman too.
It'd be fun. Well,
Eddie Murphy just like playing off of him as dog.
Yeah. Well, folks, I hope you've enjoyed the Darkman franchise as much as we have. Up next, we are moving on with our Sam Raimi series. We will be discussing Army of Darkness, which you can find in many different places. You should find it on your shelf at home. It's good enough for you to own.
Yeah, it's also been released like 17 times over the last 20 years.
So, gentlemen, where can you be found on the internet?
This is Gary Horn.
I am at Justin_Bishop in most of the places.
And I am at Mr. Todd A. Davis on all of the socials. Justin, where can people find our episodes and merch and stuff?
Well, you can go to cinemashock.net. You can find all that stuff. You can also find links to our Discord, etc. And you can find us on social media at cinema_shock in all the social media places that have not been burned to the ground yet.
Whoa. I got dark.
Yeah. Well,
have you not been following the news?
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, and until next time.
May the wings of liberty never lose a feather.
And be excellent to each other.
Johnny has the keys.